In Lingua Podcast live from Dessau is broadcast from Mitteldeutschland and features all things languages. The show is hosted by our teachers, presenting students and guests from all walks of language learning experiences. Today we welcome into our studio Florian Auk. He's the project lead of a program at Hochschule Anhalt called KickSTART Karriere.
That's right. Exactly.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Florian, thank you so much for coming in. Today we're going to talk about what you do. But most importantly, let's talk about where you came from and how you got here.
Well, that's a pretty long story, but I'll try to make it short. Well, I grew up in a small village in Saxony-Anhalt. It's called Altstedt, which is close to Sangerhausen. I don't know if you know the city. It's not very popular or very
what big
well-known.
city? What big city is it near?
The closest would be Halle.
Okay,
so it's about 50 kilometers from Halle.
Mm-hmm. Which direction?
It's between Eisleben and Nordhausen.
Okay. Is that north, south, east, or west?
I think it's west from Halle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that
So
now
it's close to the border with Thuringia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So pretty small place in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up there. Went to high school in Sangerhausen as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I came in contact with the English language was during a student exchange, actually. In my 10th grade when I was 16.
Okay.
We had an exchange program with a British boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really like, you always imagine this like from the movies, like this fancy boarding school with different houses and people having to wear uniforms to class. And I actually went there for, I think it was 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We went there with some people from our school and actually took part in the lessons there. And we stayed on campus in these dormitories, and that was the first time I got really exposed to speaking English.
Okay, so was it a boarding school?
Yeah, it was a boarding school for, the British upper class.
Interesting. So that was your first experience abroad in the 10th grade?
Yes.
And you went to classes with the students?
That's correct.
What kind of classes were they taking?
Well, like the regular classes,
Mm-hmm.
mathematics, physics, English, and some interesting classes that we don't have here in Germany, like drama.
Okay.
That was a totally new experience to me, that this is even part of curriculum at a school.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. Yeah, but that was my first real experience with the language, because before that I only spoke English at school.
Okay.
And let's say that the English classes here at German schools don't really prepare you for speaking that much. Because what you actually do is, like, for the first 5 years you learn grammar and grammar and grammar.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, starting from 10th grade, you do, like, poem interpretations and doing reading. So you never actually learn to speak very well.
Okay.
So that's why this whole experience in the UK was important to me, because you have to force yourself to speak the language.
Right.
And that's, in my opinion, the best way to learn a language is to leave your comfort zone.
Well, after that experience, did you think about maybe participating in a longer exchange, like a year abroad exchange, like a U.S. high school or back in the UK?
That was an idea, but, I come from a normal family with normal financial possibilities, so it wasn't really an option to do a whole year abroad.
Mm-hmm.
But I always thought about maybe studying something with English. So after I finished my high school, I had to make a decision what to do now, and I started studying business administration, but in an English-speaking program.
Okay.
So that was international business here at the Hochschule Anhalt, actually.
Okay, so you studied here.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm a homegrown plant, you could say.
Okay. So for your undergraduate, you came to Dessau.
I studied in Bamberg because Anhalt University
That's right. See.
has 3 different locations,
Right.
3 different campuses, and the campus in Bamberg is actually for economics and agriculture. So I was located in Bamberg.
Okay.
And sorry,
No.
sorry for interrupting.
So yeah, let's talk about those 3 campuses real quick. So Bamberg is devoted towards agriculture and economics.
Yes.
Köthen?
Köthen is for the engineering department, so everything related to mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and computer sciences. And Dessau is actually the creative campus, you could say, because that's where the architects, designers are located and have their, iconic Bauhaus movement.
So I learned from the last podcast interviewee that the Bauhaus here, it closed in 1933. Did it how does it become part of the Hochschule Anhalt? And you may not know this. Because it's no longer the Bauhaus,
Yeah.
It's not a Bauhaus university, but now it's a part of the Hochschule Anhalt university system.
That's true. I mean, that's actually right. I'm not too familiar with the detailed history of the Bauhaus, but
That's okay.
Before the reunification of Germany, these 3 different locations were separate engineering schools, and so after Germany was reunified, they actually merged these 3 into one university.
Okay.
So Bamberg was an independent university for agriculture. Köthen was what they called the Technische Hochschule for engineering. And Dessau was the architectural and creative place. And so they decided to merge these 3 into one university.
So what is Hochschule, what does it mean? How does that translate into English as something?
The closest translation would probably be University of Applied Sciences.
Okay.
Because the main difference is that the application in the field is more focused than rather pure research that you do at like regular or full universities.
Like a research institute.
Yeah.
Okay.
And up until recently, it was the rule that only full universities are allowed to issue PhDs. But this year, actually, this law has changed in Saxony-Anhalt, and now Hochschule Anhalt can also, in certain departments, or has the right to issue PhDs. So that's a pretty good move from the ministry.
That's fantastic. Okay, so you went to the Bamberg campus.
Yes.
You studied for 4 years.
For 3 years.
Okay.
Because my program was a double degree program. And now the interesting part, the 4th year, so semester 5 and 6, were abroad in South Africa.
Okay.
So that was actually one of the main reasons I decided for this program was the double degree that you were supposed to get at the end.
Okay, so you knew that you were going to go to South Africa when you signed up for the program?
Yes.
Fantastic. So you had this motivation to experience.
Exactly. I mean, this has always been the plan that I wanted to, somehow get out of regular Germany, the boring place in the middle of nowhere and see the world. That was, my plan. And we had the option to choose from different partner universities where we would want to go, like Poland, France, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, for example. And I said, okay, if I go to Australia, that's like what 85% of all students do. Yeah, it's either the US or Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Too ordinary.
Okay.
And then I didn't really see the point in going to a university in Europe because the cultures are just too similar. There's not really a new experience except for the language maybe to go to France or Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I want to do the most exotic option possible. And then I decided for Cape Town.
So, okay, I was going to ask you, so you were in Cape Town.
Yes, that was the location of the university, although, of course, we traveled a lot during semester breaks.
Okay. So what kind of courses did you take in South Africa?
That's actually interesting because the education system there is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
You first do a 3-year bachelor's degree and then a 1-year, what they call a BTech degree. It's like an in-between step between a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so because we were already very far ahead in our programs in Germany, almost done, they placed us in the BTech class. So I decided for the marketing program there.
Okay.
So we had the choice between general management and marketing.
Okay.
So I went with the BTech marketing.
So is it this sort of the same kind of like 2-semester setup?
Yeah, it's 2 semesters.
And how many courses did you take each semester?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think like four courses?
I think 4 or 5 per semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you make good grades?
Yeah, it was actually not bad. And the interesting part was that we actually had the opportunity to write our bachelor thesis there as well.
Perfect.
So, and the difference between Germany is that there we did this in a collaborative way. So we were 4 people writing the same bachelor thesis.
Okay.
Because the idea of the program was that at the end we had to come up with a marketing plan for a local business in Cape Town.
Mm-hmm.
That was our bachelor thesis. And we were 4 in the team. And then at the end of the year, we had to present our bachelor thesis in a kind of conference there.
So you picked a business, a real business.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a hair salon in Cape Town called Jabula Hair.
What is that?
They do braids for women.
Okay.
And they actually, we contacted the owner, and he was actually quite fond of the university as well, because he went there himself.
Mm-hmm.
And we got along very well, so he actually let us in on his plans to expand the business to different locations, and that's where we did the market analysis for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So free consultation.
Yeah, basically.
How did it work out in the end?
I don't know if the plans are actually, or if the plans have ever,
Been implemented?
Implemented, yes. Because at the end of the week we had to leave obviously, but the owner was actually quite, quite interested in the things that we suggested.
Okay. Okay, student body-wise, how many students went with you?
From my university, we were only 2 people.
Okay.
And we had to, the idea was that we could stay at the dormitory there for free, because we were part of the exchange program, and we were 3 guys in a room.
Okay.
And that was also totally new to me, because here when I was a student in Germany, I had my own apartment, and I wasn't really used to living in a dorm.
Well, it's a WG, right? Sort of.
Yeah, kind of, but it was probably a little bigger than this room, with only like 3 paper walls in between each bed. So quite a different experience than having your own apartment.
And for the listeners, this room that we're in right now is at least 50 square meters. Just kidding. How many square meters are we in?
I don't know.
10?
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were 2 German guys and 1 South African guy.
Okay. Well, how did you enjoy? Okay, so the university experience was good. How did you enjoy that year abroad, like living in a different culture?
That was probably one of the most important decisions that I ever made in my life, because it definitely opened up my, view of the world.
Okay. How so?
First of all, it made me more self-determined because in the beginning I was really, not really scared, but it was difficult for me to speak English because I wasn't really used to speaking a lot of English with native speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And the first month or so was really hard for me because I used to do this one thing in my head, which is the totally wrong way to speak language, is to first think what the sentence means in German and then trying to translate the sentence to English.
Right.
And then it takes too much time in an actual conversation before you can answer properly.
Mm-hmm.
And that went away over time.
Okay.
So language-wise, it was really the best thing I could have done is to, go abroad and spend some time, a year abroad.
Mm-hmm.
But culture-wise, I mean, in South Africa, it's a little difficult because there are many different cultures that live close together, but they have their real distinctions because of the apartheid history, of course. So it was much easier for us as international students to, make friends in the different cultures than the cultures with each other.
Right.
Because, we were the Europeans.
Okay, so you had a really positive experience.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Do you still keep in touch with some of the students from South Africa?
I mean, it's been 7 years now, or 8 years since I've been there. I keep in touch over like social media, like Instagram and stuff, but I haven't been there again. So I always thought about going back there, but then, I got my master's degree and then I started working. And,
right.
But it's definitely on the bucket list to go back.
Yeah, of course. So you come back. Okay, so you finish the project. You write your bachelor's thesis with your students, your colleagues. You come back to Germany. Do you graduate?
Yes.
Okay.
I came back in December and graduated in, I think it was in May. Okay. Because I still had to repeat 2 courses that I didn't finish before I left, and then I graduated. Yeah. Okay. And then the idea was, okay, do you start working now or do you continue your education? And luckily, it's easy to do this in Germany without, accumulating too much debt. So I decided to go for the MBA International Trade, which is also offered here at Anhalt University. Okay. And this is a master's program that's entirely in English.
How many undergraduate programs are available at the university? Undergraduate. Or we can talk about...
I can't give you an exact number, but I think it's probably around 40 or so.
Okay. Yeah. So the list that you brought here today, these are the
master's programs, yes. Because I thought that maybe only the English-speaking programs are interesting to the listeners. Okay. Because we don't have any 100% English undergrad programs. All of the bachelors are in German, with the only exception being like the international business that has some parts in English. Okay. But we have a lot of different English-speaking master programs.
Okay. Can you tell us what they are?
Sure. So there are different programs available in different departments, of course. In the economics department, we have the MBA International Trade that I did. In the engineering department, for example, we have photovoltaic engineering, biomedical engineering, and then recently opened the molecular biotechnology masters. Then also popular is the location in Dessau, of course, with the international architecture, design and design research, integrated design. And one specific course in architecture that deals with cultural heritage.
Okay.
So Denkmalpflege in German. And it's a very popular course as well.
Okay.
So Anhalt University is a very international university, and probably one of the most international universities in Germany, actually, because about 1/3 of all students are from abroad.
Okay.
So that's a pretty high percentage in comparison to other universities and universities of applied sciences.
Okay. Let's come back to that, because that's a good topic to talk about, where the students are coming from. You started your master's in international business. You finished in 2 years.
The master's was in international trade.
In international trade.
Yes.
Okay. Did you enjoy that program?
Oh yes, because that was the first time I actually also worked in Germany with people from abroad.
Okay.
So we were a pretty diverse group. We had people from Pakistan, India, from China, Vietnam. So that was actually a very diverse group, and the 2 years, they went by in a heartbeat.
Did you? What was your master's thesis about?
Oh, that's also an interesting topic. I thought, okay, I'm studying in an international program, but why not combine an international perspective with a local perspective?
Mm-hmm.
So what I actually did was some empirical research on the influence that Anhalt University students have on the local economy.
Interesting.
So regional economic development, basically.
Okay. What did you find out?
That the problem is that a lot of students come here, they study here, and then they leave.
Okay.
And that's actually where my
So there's
program actually that I work for now tries to counteract this impact.
Okay. So that's another thing I want to come back to that too, like reasons why. Okay, so you finished there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a great, sounds like your thesis was right on the money.
Yeah, well, it was a 1 point something.
Mm-hmm. Then you start working for the university.
Yes.
Okay, as the project coordinator, project director of the international.
As a project manager, the project coordinator is still somebody else.
Okay.
But the professor asked me to join the program and work for the university, so I helped students with all the kind of administrative stuff. I prepared lectures. I actually held lectures myself in things like international accounting, corporate finance, marketing. So that was my first teaching experience.
Is that exciting?
Oh, yes, it is. Because it's a totally different perspective in compared to when you're sitting in a classroom and standing in front of and having to talk for like 90 minutes.
Okay. Were like when you first got the opportunity to teach, are you over preparing with overheads, like with handouts, with using all the technology that's available in the classroom? Are you making sure that there's questions are asked? I mean, what does it feel like the first time?
I mean, it also depends on the audience from of which country people are from.
Okay.
Because different cultural backgrounds have different ways of teaching.
Okay.
I definitely noticed because if I taught Chinese students, for example, they are used to a different system of the teacher just standing there in front, talking for 90 minutes, and they always have to agree with everything that you say.
Okay.
But motivate them to challenge me, and ask questions and get into discussions, and that gave them a whole new perspective of teaching a subject is this interaction.
Interesting. What about the Pakistani students? Because we have a Pakistani teacher here. How are the Pakistani students in your class?
They were motivated. What are you getting at?
This is an inside joke for Ali. Like,
okay.
do you know Ali?
No.
Muhammad Ali? He graduated from one of the programs here on the Bauhaus campus in architecture. I can't remember which one. He'll kill me for that. But he's a very jovial, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. Always positive, always happy, always like helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Ali, that might stay in. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, so that's a big deal, like teaching, on the campus, like coordinating, managing the project, helping the international students in a variety of ways. What kind of students, why do they come here? The international students.
Well, first of all, because Germany has a very good reputation worldwide for its, high standard of education, obviously.
Okay.
And then one big motivator is, of course, financial reasons. Because when you come here to study, not all of the programs are completely free. Some of them charge a semester contribution, but it's nothing compared to like the US or the UK, where you pay, I don't know, $100,000 for a master's degree. So you get the practical application at Anhalt University, you get the German degree, and you either pay no tuition or very little tuition, and that's a big advantage. Plus, at the end, you get a German degree, and that German degree gives you the right for a job-seeking visa.
Okay.
So by obtaining this degree, you automatically have the right to stay in Germany after your graduation for 18 months to find a job in your area of expertise.
Okay. I saw in the paper the other day, so 2,100 international students just arrived 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. What are you doing? How are you working with those students right now?
Well, at the moment, we're still, in this pandemic situation where we try to provide all lectures in presence, but where it's not possible, some programs offer, hybrid forms of teaching.
Okay.
For those international students that couldn't get into Germany because they're either not, they can't leave yet because they haven't received an appointment due to the situation in the country, or they're coming from a high-risk area and having to quarantine when they arrive.
Okay.
So there are various different reasons, but we're trying to, help them as much as possible. And once they are here, they have the opportunity to get vaccinated here.
Okay. So do you help them find housing?
Not in all of the cases. Some students choose to look for their housing themselves. But if you start early enough, then there's also, for most students, the possibility to get an apartment in the dormitories.
Okay. Yeah. So there is a student dormitory.
Yes, in all three campus locations. This is managed by the Studentenwerkhalle.
Okay.
And they provide housing very affordable prices.
Okay, that's good.
But there's a big waiting list, of course. So the earlier you start, the better.
Do you find a lot of students have already, because housing is one of the most important things. A lot of those students, I'm sure in the literature that you send out when they've been accepted to the university, there's some sort of information on like apartment searching or something like this. Do you find a lot of students already have that secure before they arrive?
It depends from case to case. A lot of them try to find housing before they come to Germany. A lot of them come here and then start looking. I can't really definitively say what's the better approach.
Okay. So they arrive. There's some sort of orientation for the international students. What comes next? Language courses, if they want them?
That depends on whether you're studying in a German-speaking program or an English-speaking program.
Let's assume they're mostly studying in an English-speaking program.
Then in some courses there is there's a regular German course as part of the curriculum. Not in all of them, but like once or twice they have German for architects, for example.
Okay.
But that's in most cases not enough to learn the language over the course of 1 or 2 semesters. That's actually one of the things that we do at KickSTART Karriere, that once a year we offer this, what we call an intensive language course, where we select those students with the potential of finding a job here in Germany and staying long term, and we offer them a language course that takes them from A2 to a good B2 level over the course of 2 semesters.
Okay.
So we do this in the semester breaks, and there they have like 6 or 8 weeks of German every day, like from 9 to 4 in the afternoon.
Okay.
With like a real intensive course. How
do you identify those students?
Well, we usually once a semester send out, an advertisement. Please get back to us if you're interested in the language course, and then we do interviews.
Okay.
We talk to them. What is their motivation? Are they looking to stay here in Saxony-Anhalt? What is their pre-existing language level? Because that's also important. The course is too intense to start from scratch. So you need to have at least a little of, like, let's say, A2 level in order to reach the goal at the end.
So out of those 2,100 students that just arrived, how many of those students?
25 per course. I mean, it's...
Or how many speak German? The ones that just came. How many have any type of, German language skills?
Oh, that's difficult to put a number on.
Okay.
A lot of them already have had learned German classes in their home countries.
Okay.
Because they know their goal is not to go back to their own country after they finish. They want to stay in Germany.
Okay.
So they come with a A2, B1, but the only problem is that the English programs are very international, especially here in Dessau, but they never leave their international bubble. So they never really get in contact with a lot of Germans in their everyday life because they can always rely on speaking English.
Right.
And that's not the best way to get exposure to a language and learn it, because you have to leave your comfort zone and force yourself to speak it.
Okay. So how do you how does the project encourage that?
So KickSTART Karriere is basically the career service for international students at our university.
Right.
And what we try to do is help students, move from university life to working life. And our main goal is to obviously keep them here in Saxony-Anhalt. Yeah. I mean, we also help students with finding a job somewhere else in Germany, but our main goal is to help the regional economy with new and young talents. So what we do in order to help students is that we start pretty early on, during maybe the 3rd or 4th semester, when they first have to, in some programs, do an internship. So we help them prepare their application documents for the internship. We look for companies that are interested in interns in that specific area and connect the students with the companies.
Okay. So do you think students that are coming for their undergraduate, they have more of an opportunity to learn German while here because the program is longer?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And that's my advice to all international students. Start learning German the minute you come here. Don't put it off.
Yeah. That's true. So if you're encouraging the students themselves to learn German, are you also encouraging the business opportunities, the companies, the people that you're meeting with to hire the international students?
Yes, exactly. That's the whole idea behind it, is to open up both sides of the coin, Can
you talk a little bit about that?
Because here in Saxony-Anhalt, it's not very common for companies to speak English or have a lot of English-speaking corporate culture. So we in the beginning of the program, we went to a lot of famous local businesses and talked to them, introduced the program, and tried to...
Can you give us some names? Is that allowed? Like businesses?
I mean, we placed people in, for example, here in Dessau, in an architectural studio.
Mm-hmm.
In IDT Biologica, we have one student.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big name. Then we have one student, a mechanical engineering student, who we placed in the Schraubenwerk Zerbst.
Mm-hmm.
She's an engineer there now. Then what else? I don't. So many faces in my head now who I could think of. Then we, at the beginning of the program, we had also a mechanical engineering student who we placed in a small Mittelstands company in Farnstedt. And they were producing special equipment for fire trucks.
Okay.
So that was pretty interesting. Yeah, so a lot of different local businesses, they first need to make the experience that, yes, it takes more time to, onboard an international graduate,
mm-hmm.
because you have to explain things more often,
mm-hmm.
or help them understand the language, but it also pays off in the end, because they can connect you with a lot of export markets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what level of German do you think a strong B2 is able to work in any German company?
That's probably a good level to go with.
Okay.
B2. I mean, there are, of course, English-speaking jobs as well,
mm-hmm.
but they're rare and they're very competitive.
Okay.
Yeah? So it's hard to get them, because a lot of students think, okay, then I'll go to Berlin and do work for a startup where everybody speaks English anyways. But these kind of jobs are popular, of course, and then you have to compete with the other people.
Right.
So the best would be to start learning German and then go for one of the various different middle-sized companies,
mm-hmm.
where you need a little kind of help
mm-hmm.
to start, but they usually are interested in long-term relationships where you're not fired like after half a year or so.
The
fluctuation is lower than in bigger companies.
Okay, so that 6 month, we're talking about that 6 month probationary period.
Yes.
Where if your employer is not happy with your performance, they can let you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough.
But that's what we
it's the rules.
Have to go through.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I guess, first of all, how many international students are graduating? What's the average every year?
A couple of hundred.
Okay.
Like 400, 500 or so.
Okay, 400 or 500.
Yeah.
So, okay, you said a lot of people want to return home. Would you say...
I would say that maybe 65 to 70... let's say 60 to 65% want to stay in Germany.
Want to stay, okay.
Yeah, and the rest wants to go home, because the reputation that you get with a German degree opens up the employment opportunities over there.
Sure. So back home, you have a good university education. You got a nice diploma from Germany. It's going to open up some doors.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So for the 65% that want to stay, do you have a percentage of how many do actually stay or do find work?
Most of them.
Okay.
Because they have enough time to prepare for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have 18 months.
That is nice. Yeah.
After their graduation, in order to find a permanent job.
Okay.
And during that time, by law, they are allowed to take up any job to finance themselves. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you could work at McDonald's while you're looking for a job as an architect.
Okay.
Yeah? So that is allowed. And the only condition that they have is that the job that you need for the working visa needs to be in your area of expertise, and it needs to generate a certain income.
Do you know the minimum?
That's difficult to say because it depends on the region and on the averages. So don't pin me on any number, but it should be equivalent to like a master's degree salary.
So in Sachsen-Anhalt, how much is that?
Probably around 3,000 euros or so, 3,200, which is one of the struggles that we have in the KickSTART project as well.
Is that netto?
Because, no, gross.
Okay.
Because the limits that are given are not really based in reality, especially in Saxony-Anhalt. So it's difficult to find a job in that regard, but we'll try to make it work.
Okay.
In the beginning, we had to get the name out and get popular, so we actually called companies and went there and introduced the project in order to make ourselves known.
Right.
At the moment, with the companies, we have a nice, let's say, database of companies that we already worked with, so we can always call them up and say, okay, do you need, I don't know, an architect for this specific task? But it also happens that we're so established that they actually call up us and say,
That's
okay, nice. I have this project here, I want to start exporting to Vietnam. Do you have a finance major who's from Vietnam, for example?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Like, it's all about networking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, are you having a job fair on campus from these companies? Are they setting up a stall? Are they handing out information for, like, recruiting the students, like, once a year?
Yes, we used to have this before the pandemic, of course, once a year. But we also have this kind of internet portal where companies can actually post job offers.
Okay.
And students can log in with their university login and check out the job offers that are available.
Okay.
But we also connect them with the companies directly if it's needed. Yeah. So the process is normally that a student calls up, writes an email or calls us on our project number, because that's one of the big advantages that we have is that students can contact us on WhatsApp. So they write us a WhatsApp message. We have a KickSTART WhatsApp message, WhatsApp number that they can get in contact with us, and then we'll arrange an appointment for consultation.
Okay.
And then we start talking to the student what they actually have planned, what area they want to go in, and then we have a look at the application documents, because that's probably one of the biggest hurdles for most students, that they're not used to this kind of German standard when it comes to application documents, like that you need to have a cover letter, that you need to have a CV with a picture, that you need to have a certificate for everything. So we try to get this in order and then connect them with the available companies.
How do you feel about that picture on the CV?
It's a very outdated tradition in Germany. I personally don't think it's necessary, but especially in the HR departments, it's still like a requirement.
Okay.
So because I get this question a lot from students, why do I need a picture? And I always have to tell them, I know it's kind of stupid, but that's German standard. Unfortunately, you have to abide by it. If you don't want to, get sorted in the deny stack immediately.
So with no picture, automatically, denial.
I mean, it's a little pretty harsh to say automatically, but in most traditional businesses, like in engineering or in business administration, that's probably a no without a picture.
Okay.
But especially in the creative fields like architecture and design, they're more open to, let's say, modern forms of applications.
Right. It could lead to discriminatory practices, obviously. Like,
Yes.
That's sociology 101. Like,
True. But I don't know how to get around this.
I hear it's being phased out in Germany. I may be wrong about that. Like, it's slowly phasing out. Like,
they're trying to abolish it, but if you talk to HR managers, they still want to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
I talked about. I actually recently had a conversation with an HR manager about this, and she said, Scott, we just want to see your face. We want to see what you look like before we invite you for the interview, before you walk in the door, so we can know when you walk in, like, we're expecting you. And I was like, okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
That's a safe answer. So 65% of the students, they want to stay.
Yeah. I mean, due to different reasons, because they always wanted to come to Germany, or because the employment market in their home countries is not, as
lucrative,
yeah, or maybe even if they come from places like Syria or the Middle East, where there's a war situation going on,
right.
And obviously you don't want to go back,
right?
Because normally the rule is that if you can't find a job within that 18-month period, then you have to leave,
right?
So they're pretty harsh on enforcing that.
Yeah.
But in most cases that we help out with students, they get job offers in the first 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Because that's also a recommendation that I always give my international students. Don't waste the 18 months, because it sounds like a lot, but they can be over quicker than you think.
Well, it's like your year abroad in South Africa went by at the blink of the eye, because you were busy, you were enjoying it, like you were busy, like you were studying, right? That 18 months that's where, like, primarily I would think that students are focusing on language.
That's always a good combination, that if you haven't started learning the language during your study time, that you immediately start within a proper German course after you graduate.
Okay.
And then you can learn the language and at the same time start looking for job opportunities.
That's nice.
Paid for by the university.
Okay.
That's why we have to be so strict with selecting the people with the biggest motivation and best perspective to stay.
Well, you're looking at their undergraduate transcripts, or you're looking, like you said, you do interviews. Maybe there's a motivational statement that they write, and like you said, that's at the breaks. That's intensive courses. You said it's all day courses for how many weeks do they?
6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, yeah.
So it's German every day.
Yeah,
but that's I guess the best way to learn. If it's everyday exposure.
Is there an opportunity for these international students to live with German families during their graduate experience, or maybe not their undergraduate experience, but their graduate experience? Do families come to you guys and say, like, we have an extra room, our kids are out of the house, we'd like to host?
I mean, I know of some cases where this happened, but it's not initiated through the university.
They've arranged it themselves because there's some sort of connection.
Yeah, exactly. The people that come here are often already a little older. So most people are not 18 or 19 who come here. A lot of the students, international students that come here, have already done a master's degree in their home countries.
Okay.
They've gathered work experience for a couple of years. So it's not really the right age to live with a host family.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, I've had a student from, I think it was Lebanon, who had already had a master's degree in his home country. He came here to do a master's degree in biomedical engineering. And then he also did a second master's at the MBA International Trade. And in the meantime, between leaving his country, he had 5 years of work experience worldwide. So he was over 30 already, but had the best kind of experiences and references in his CV. So the best starting point to get a job here. Because that's what I always say. The two most important factors in getting a job here is the language on the one hand, But what's even more important is your work experience.
So after 5 years, how is his language?
It's pretty good, yeah.
Is he still here?
Yeah, he's still here.
Okay.
He's almost done with his second master. And he will then be looking for a job.
So yeah, he'll have 18 months.
Yeah.
Do you have a relationship with the Ausländersbehörde?
Oh yeah, we work with them regularly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the moment, the Ausländerbehörde in Köthen is a little or has difficulties working at the moment because they've been affected by this ransomware attack that happened a couple of months back.
Okay.
So.
Oh, that's right. They were hacked. Okay.
So, but they will be back to normal, I guess, towards the end of the year.
Okay. How does it feel like working with the international students? Like, for you personally?
I mean, it's very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know what it feels like to be in a strange and new country and don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my main motivation for the job, and that's why I enjoy helping international students. And I could tell you about a case, for example, that we had at the beginning of the year, where we had a student from Syria who's graduated from the architectural program here in Dessau, and she's been looking for a job for 17 months.
Mm-hmm.
And now the situation was that, time is running out. We have to find a job quickly. And we actually, I think it was 1 week or 1.5 weeks before her deadline, we actually found her a job in Munich. Unfortunately not in Saxony-Anhalt, but in this case in Munich.
Mm-hmm.
And she managed to get the contract and now has a working visa and can stay in Germany.
Perfect.
So, and this specific case was really, very rewarding because it was a last-minute thing,
Mm-hmm.
and she was really thankful for this. And then I get this all the time that after a couple of months, students get back to me and say, "Florian, thank you for helping me out. It was really, really generous of you and helpful that you help us to bridge that gap between end of university life and actually arriving in the real world."
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I know that students need that support. They need that connection. They need that networking skills that you guys have. Albeit, however, if it's going to be something more regional, which you would prefer,
Yeah.
but you also have connections throughout the entire country.
And I mean, that's not the only thing that we do. We also have regular workshop programs that we offer.
Okay.
We have what we call our semester program,
Mm-hmm.
where we do weekly workshops. I mean, before the pandemic, we did this in person, in a real lecture hall.
Right.
But now, during the pandemic, we switched to doing this online.
So what do you offer in the workshops?
We talk about things like what soft skills are important in Germany. How do you actually write a cover letter, and how do you prepare your CV?
Mm-hmm.
Then also practical things like how do I prepare myself for an interview? What typical questions might arise? How do I negotiate a salary? Because that's always, one of the biggest questions is, how do I ask for money in Germany? Yeah.
So
it's a difficult subject.
How do you negotiate a salary?
That's a good question because you always. It's like in poker. If who shows the hand first loses, right?
Okay.
So, first of all, I always tell them, wait until you're asked about money.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of companies don't ask about salary expectations in their job ad. Some of them do. If it's required of you, you have to give a range,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not appropriate to say I want to have 50,000 euros.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you say okay, depending on my level and so on, 48 to 52.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in the interview situation, wait. Usually towards the last 10 minutes of the interview, when the HR manager says, okay, let's talk money now. And then the strategy is to not start with a number first, but start with giving arguments for yourself, like your experience, like your flexibility with working hours, and then you can start naming numbers, and you should start higher in order to still have some wiggle room to negotiate down.
Okay. It's good advice.
And as an international student, you always have the argument that I need to earn a certain amount, otherwise I won't get the working visa.
Actually,
so that's the lowest you should go is the roughly 3,000 euros.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
What I always tell them is be self-aware, know what you can do, know that you have a good degree, and that you have experience. Don't undersell yourself.
Okay.
Yeah? Also learn. I mean, if the job offer isn't working out, then also learn to say no. That's why I always tell them, start looking for a job early, so that you don't put yourself in this kind of situation where you're, okay, I'm with the back against the wall. I have to find a job in 4 weeks now. That's so that you have this freedom to say no as well if the offer isn't to your liking.
Okay. That's good advice, because if you wait too late, that's the only offer you get, then you're stuck with that.
Exactly.
Anything else about the workshops that are productive?
We also talk about very practical things like what does a job contract look like in Germany? What are the things that need to be in there, things that you have to pay attention to? How does overtime work in Germany? How are vacation days regulated? Maternity and parental leave. And then the most interesting for most students is the whole question about social security. That's what we dedicate a whole workshop to, is where we talk about the social security system in Germany, because a lot of students get almost get a heart attack when they first see their first paycheck. They negotiated, let's say, 3,500 euros gross, and then suddenly it's a lot less than that, because you have to pay health insurance, you have to pay income tax, nursing care, pension insurance, unemployment insurance, all of these things that we have in Germany. I mean, I always say that I know it's a lot that you have to give up, but know that this is something that Germans are very proud of, because you're from the US, right? So you know the exact opposite of this, right?
Well, I mean, like,
where there's
40, we're also paying like 40% in taxes,
but without universal healthcare, right? That's one of the biggest advantage that I always...
It depends on the job, right? Yeah. But you're right. I
always tell my students, if you're sick in Germany, you won't die, or you don't have to be in debt for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of pays off. I know it's a hard feeling at the end of the month to see, I almost lose like 1/3 of my salary to the government, but in the end you can be sure that you will be given help.
Yeah. Which university are you working at? Are you in Köthen?
The international office that I work for, this institution that takes care of all matters related to international students is in all 3 locations of the university. So we have offices in Dessau, we have an office in Köthen, and we have an office in Bamberg.
Are you on each campus every week?
I'm usually, let's say, 4 days of the week in Köthen, because that's where the central station is. Yeah. But if there's a student in need in Bamberg, then I'm also commuting to Bamberg or in Dessau.
Which city has the largest campus?
Largest campus in terms of number of students or size?
Number of students.
Then I would probably say it's either Bamberg or Dessau.
Okay.
Probably Dessau, because Dessau is the most international campus. Because a lot of the architectural and design programs
it's just the Bauhaus,
attract
right?
international students. Yeah.
Are there undergraduate programs here?
Oh yeah, as well. But As I said, there are no English-speaking bachelor programs at the moment.
Right. Okay, so most of those students would be German or Austrian.
Or we also have international students who have parents that are German or who went to a German high school in their home country who speak such a high level of German that they can join a German program.
Okay, perfect.
And the idea behind the German education system, which is also one of the reasons to come here, is that it allows for social mobility, right? So your parents' bank account doesn't determine whether you should succeed in life or not, right?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. So equal opportunity.
Yes, exactly. So everybody's offered the same opportunity because university is free of charge. Obviously, for the rest of your life, you will pay taxes and social security, but that means that everybody gets the same chance, and it doesn't matter whether you're from a rich family or a less rich family.
Do you see the numbers of university applicants? Are they increasing every year or decreasing?
At Anhalt University, especially, they are in the last 2 years increasing because we have a very high percentage as well from international students. So I said that about 1/3 of the student body is international, and this percentage is growing. So the future perspective is that we will get more international students, which means that more internationals will join the regional job market, and that's why KickSTART Karriere is there to help.
Okay. And do you think that the students, like when they first come here, like you said, a lot of them, if they're coming from for a graduate degree, they have work experience, maybe they have another graduate degree from their home country. How are people finding out about this? Is it from students that are going back to home countries? Is it advertising from the university? Is it just...
It's a mixture of all of that.
Okay.
But I would say that the biggest factor is word of mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. So students who had the experience of studying here, talking to their friends, going back to their home countries, and distributing the information. But the university, of course, also attends like education fairs abroad in South America, Asia, wherever. We also can be found on university rankings,
right?
And they also have we also have a lot of different cooperation programs with partner universities, where they do maybe 1 or 2 years in their home country and then come to Germany to study for the 3rd year and then get a double degree.
Like your South Africa project.
Just the other way around.
Yeah.
For example, we have a lot of joint degree programs in China. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest group of international students is Chinese students. So they come here, study, and then receive a degree from their university and the German university.
Okay.
That's one of the groups probably with the highest return rate, because for them having a German degree and speaking German is much more attractive in China than it is in Germany.
Yeah.
Because there's something very special with this kind of education in China, and it's opening up, job opportunities.
Okay.
And here they would have to, line in with everybody else. So, but we have other, like the countries that are or that make up the student body are like, as I said, China, then India, Pakistan. We have a lot of students in Department 1 that are from Ukraine and Russia. So these are pretty popular countries that students are from.
Any European countries?
Oh yeah, well, because we have the Erasmus program that also brings in a lot of countries or students from different European countries.
Okay. So an Erasmus, what would that provide them? Like, is it just the title or is it actually funding?
Erasmus also includes funding, yes.
Okay.
So
that would cover housing,
exactly.
medical care, like healthcare, those sorts of
I mean,
things.
healthcare is a different issue, but it provides the housing. The international office can also offer mobility programs where they get funding for traveling. That also goes for German students wanting to go abroad. Yeah, we have our Erasmus coordinator who can help all of the university students to go for a semester abroad. I mean, we also had the situation that students actually came here from a different country to study in Germany, and then they decided to go for 1 year to Bulgaria, or for one semester to Bulgaria, or I don't know, France.
Okay.
So just because you're an international student doesn't mean that you're not allowed to go abroad as well.
Okay. Actually, that's a pretty good opportunity. One of the questions I sent you is that how are Dessauians like involved in student activity life? Or how are some of the students, how do you bring the two together? Like community members from the community and international students?
I mean, we have at least before the pandemic, we had regular, activities and events at the university where students participated and organized cultural evenings, things like that. We had this one community concert.
Was this Too Tipsy?
Yeah, Too Tipsy, exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
you remember him. He was your first guest on the podcast, right? Him, for example, he was one of the prime examples of getting the student body and the community together.
Yeah. Was that initiated by the university?
Oh, yes. It was supported by the international office, this whole project and the concert at the end. So, we always try to, encourage people to meet and talk about culture and get to know each other.
Well, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
This is now the typical interview question. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Hopefully still working at this program.
Okay.
So, because as I said, the percentage of international students is increasing, and I would really appreciate if this program continues and develops into a long-term thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want? Like, what kind of like project or what kind of program do you want to implement that you think is missing right now?
What's definitely missing, and that's always the case when you work at a university, is long-term financing. That's always an issue, yeah. So we're really working hard to establish long-term financing through the university or, other grants that we can acquire. And what I would definitely like
So you mean funding for projects?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And what I would definitely like to improve on is the regularity that we can offer these intensive language courses, because at the moment, due to our restricted funding, we can only offer it once a year. That means once per semester break. Yeah, so it's a 2-part program: one in the winter break, one in the summer break.
Is it just the teacher's salary that you need to worry
as
about?
well, and materials, books, and also we wanted to give them a wholesome package, so that's why we decided to also include commuting costs. So if the students live in Dessau and the course takes place in Köthen, we pay for their public transport.
Right. So, okay. So you're giving them the materials. You're giving them money for the bus or the train, and then the teacher you have to pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then hopefully once the situation has improved with Corona, then we can go back to actually also visiting companies. We did that before Corona, that we did excursions to local companies. For example, we went to the Celeon company here in Dessau, who produce medical equipment, and that's exactly what the students from biomedical engineering were looking for.
Okay.
So that's also one way to bring them closer together, is to actually show them the real work in the companies, and show the companies as well that we have capable students.
Okay, that's nice. So if I am a student in America and I want to come to Hochschule Anhalt, how do I contact you for information?
Well, first of all, you can have a look at our website. That's the easiest way. And then you can look up a program that you're interested in, if it's architecture or engineering, whatever you choose from the available programs. And then the process is that you apply through this what's so-called UniAssist. That's like a central institution in Germany that processes university applications from abroad.
Okay.
And depending on the program, whether it has 1 or 2 intakes a year, you then have to provide all of the necessary documents, and then you get accepted into the program.
Okay. And when should I apply? Is it year-round? Are there deadlines?
Most programs have intakes in the winter semester, and the deadlines are usually like in July or August for October.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the semester starts in October.
Exactly.
And finishes in
end of March. So the semester is always from October till end of March, and then from April to the end of August.
Okay, so it is like 2 semesters.
Yes, 2 semesters.
But just 2.
The academic year is split in half.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the best way, once you are here and you're studying, and the best time to contact us at KickSTART Karriere in order to help you is maybe not right from the beginning, because first of all, you have to get used to the university and your everyday life here. But around the 3rd semester, that's a good time to get in contact with us.
Again, this is if you are a undergraduate.
No, we're talking about
a master's?
Master's degree.
Okay, so you're already like a year and a half into it.
Yes.
Okay.
So, because that's the time when most people have to do or want to do internships.
Okay.
That's the first step. Yeah, you go to a company, you earn some experiences, you get exposed to the working world there. Yeah, and then the idea behind it is that once you impress the company that you're working with, that they offer you a job after your graduation. I mean, that's our preferred case and the ideal case, that we organize an internship for you. You work at that company. The company is so impressed that they say, please graduate as soon as possible, and then we'll take you on.
Okay.
That's the ideal process.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, and as I said, the students of Anhalt University, they can contact us through email that is posted on the websites, or our WhatsApp number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to give the WhatsApp number?
Sure. But as I said, please, only if you're an Anhalt student. If you're a student from a different university, we are not responsible for you. The WhatsApp number is 0152527268886.
Fantastic. And I hope that your students, I hope that you use the podcast also to advertise the services of the Career Center.
Yes, definitely. We will distribute it to all of our students in our database, and we hope that a lot of students listen to this.
Yeah, I think they will. Why wouldn't they?
That would be great, yeah.
Well, Florian, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming in. You did a wonderful job.
Thanks. My first podcast experience, and
well, let's come back and do another one.
Yeah, why not? And thanks for all the international students out there. And if you need help, come and talk to us.
Thank you for listening to Inlingua Podcast, live from Dessau. We hope you stay tuned for more episodes.